Good morning, everyone. So, today a new chapter, dentine. We'll start dentine and look what is dentine, what it is composed of, when it is formed, what is structural units, and everything. So, let's begin. Here, the dentine provides the bulk and general form of the tooth and is characterized as a hard tissue with tubules throughout its thickness. So, dentine, it provides a bulk of the tooth, and it is a hard tissue. It is composed of dentinal tubules throughout its thickness. Here, it is a hard tissue. Then, it begins slightly before the enamel. Slightly before the enamel, dentine is formed. It determines the shape of the crown, including the cusp and ridges, and the number and size of the roots. Dentine determines the shape of the crown, including cusp and ridges, and the number and size of the roots. As a living tissue, the dentine is a living tissue. It contains within its tubules and process of specialized cells, the odontoblast. From the previous chapter, enamel, we know that enamel is a dead tissue since it contains 96% minerals and only 4% organic compounds. Here in dentine contains 65% organic and 35% inorganic compounds. As a living tissue, it contains within its tubule the process of specialized cells, the odontoblasts. So, odontoblasts are present in dentine. Although the cell bodies of the odontoblast are arranged along the pulpal surface of the dentine, the cells are morphological cells of dentine because the odontoblast produce the dentine as well as the odontoblast processes casting within it. So, here the odontoblast cells which form the dentine are present along the pulpal surface of the dentine. Look at here. Here this is the tooth. Here pulp. So the odontoblasts are present here along the surface of the pulp. Okay, like this. Although the cell bodies of the odontoblasts are arranged along the pulpal surface of the dentine, the cells are morphological cells of the dentine. So, along the pulpal surface of the dentine they are present. The odontoblast produce the dentine as well as the odontoblast processing casting within it. Physically and chemically, the dentine closely resembles bone. The main morphological difference between bone and dentine is that some of the osteoblasts exist on the surface of the bone, and when of these cells become enclosed within its matrix, it is called an osteocytes. The odontoblast cells bodies remain external to dentine, but their process exists within the tubules in dentine. Both are considered vital tissues because they contain living protoplasm. So here, the odontoblast cell bodies remain external to dentine, but their processes exist within the tubules in dentine. Here, the odontoblast cell bodies which are present near the pulpal surface of the dentine, but the processes of the odontoblastic processes which extend into the dentinal dentinal tubules along the dentine. Both bone and dentin, they are considered vital tissue because they contain living protoplasm. Moving on, the next is physical and chemical properties of dentin. Look at physical and chemical properties of dentin. In the teeth of young individuals, the dentin usually is light yellowish in color, becoming darker with age. So in young individuals, children, the dentin is light yellowish in color, and with advancing age it becomes darker. Unlike enamel, which is very hard and brittle, dentin is viscoelastic and subject to slight deformation. So dentin is viscoelastic. What do you mean by viscoelastic? Viscoelastic means it is not very hard nor very soft, it is in between. So it is like a cushion, which can be a bit compressible, whereas enamel is very hard, it is very hard and brittle. So enamel is the hardest substance present in the body, it is very brittle and very hard. But dentin is viscoelastic, it is subject to light deformation, it can be deformed slightly. It is somewhat harder than bone but considerably softer than enamel. So dentin lies in between dentin lies in between enamel and bone. So enamel is more harder, then comes dentin, then comes bone. Okay, in between, it lies in between. Then moving on, so dentin is softer than enamel. Dentin hardness varies slightly between two types and between crown and root dentin. Dentin also differs in hardness near the crown and root dentin. Dentin is somewhat harder in its central part than near the pulp or on its periphery. So if this is the tooth, this is the pulp here inside, here dentin is present, this is dentin, and this is enamel, this is dentin. So in the dentin there are three components. One is the pulpal area, the other is the middle dentin, the other is on the periphery. So dentin is harder in the middle area. Okay, dentin hardness varies slightly between two types and between crown and root dentin. Dentin is somewhat harder in the central part than near the pulp or its periphery. The dentin of primary teeth is slightly less hard than the permanent teeth. So in children, there is primary dentition. So dentin is slightly less hard in primary teeth, in deciduous teeth. It is more hard in permanent teeth. The lower content of mineral salts in dentin render it more radiolucent than enamel. What do you mean by radiolucent? So when the X-ray is taken, when light is allowed to pass, it is called as radiolucent, whereas light isn't allowed to pass, it is called as radio opaque. So the lower content of mineral salts in dentin contains lower mineral salts, right? Enamel has more mineral salts, it contains 96% mineral salts, but dentin, it contains only 65% inorganic materials. So it is radiolucent than enamel. Here this line is important. Dentin consists of 35% organic matter and water and 65% inorganic material. Dentin contains 35% organic matter and water and 65% inorganic material. The organic substance consists of collagenous fibers embedded in the ground substance of mucopolysaccharides, that is proteoglycans and glycosamine glycans, GAGs. The organic substance consists of collagen fibers embedded in the ground substance of mucopolysaccharides and in glycosamine glycans. and the organic substance of dentin are collagenous fibers embedded in the ground substance, that is mucopolysaccharide. Mucopolysaccharide is composed of proteoglycans and glycosamine glycans, that is GAG units. Type 1 collagen is the principal type of collagen found in dentin. What is the principal type of collagen found in dentin? It is type 1 collagen. It is important to note it down. Type 1 collagen is the principal type of collagen found in dentin. Next, the important constituents of the ground substance are the proteoglycans, that is chondroitin sulfates, decorin and biglycans. Glycoproteins are dentin sialoproteins, DSP, osteonectin, osteopontin. Phosphoproteins are dentin phosphoproteins. Gamma carboxyglutamate containing protein, GLA proteins. So the proteins, the organic compounds contain proteins, they are dentinosyloproteins, DSPs, and also phosphoproteins. What are the phosphoproteins? Dentin phosphoproteins, DPP, DSP and DPP. Next, the protein of dentin matrix and bone are similar. The protein of dentin matrix, the matrix of dentin and bone, they have proteins which are similar, but DSP and DPP are present only in dentin. What are DSP and DPP? Dentin sialoproteins and dentin phosphoproteins. They are present only in dentin. In addition, the matrix contains growth factors like transforming growth factors, TGF, fibroblast growth factors, FGF, insulin-like growth factors, IGF, bone morphogenic proteins, BMPs, epidermal growth factors, EGF, palatal derived growth factors, PDGF, placental growth factors, PLGF, etc. Next, here the inorganic compounds has been shown by X-ray diffraction to consist of hydroxyapatite. Here this point is important. The inorganic compounds have been shown by X-ray diffraction consist of hydroxyapatite crystals. These are the inorganic crystals, as in bone, cementum, enamel. Hydroxyapatite crystals are present in bone as well as cementum and enamel. So these hydroxyapatite crystals is composed of 1000 unit cells. The unit cells have formula. So the simplified formula here, this is the formula. The simplified formula is right here, Ca6 Ca10 actually, Ca6 Ca10 PO4 6 times and OH6. This is the simplified formula. I noted down this formula. Hydroxyapatite crystals formula is Ca10 PO4 6 times and OH6. Moving on, next, the crystals are plate shaped. These hydroxyapatite crystals are plate shaped and much smaller than the hydroxyapatite crystals in enamel. These hydroxyapatite crystals are much smaller than in enamel. They are plate shaped. Dentin also contains small amount of phosphates, carbonates and sulfates. The crystals are poor in calcium but rich in carbon when compared to enamel. Dentin also contains small amount of phosphates, carbonates and sulfates. The crystals are poor in calcium but rich in carbon when compared to enamel. Okay, right. Next, moving on, organic and inorganic substance can be separated by either decalcification or incineration. So organic and inorganic substances, they can be separated by decalcification or incineration. When we do decalcification, what happens? The inorganic compounds is lost by decalcification. See, in the process of decalcification, the organic constituents can be retained and maintain the shape of the dentine. This is why decalcified teeth and bone can be sectioned and provide clear histological visualization. The enamel, being over 90% mineral in composition, is lost after decalcification. So what it is said here is, during decalcification, what happens? Inorganic compounds, mineral compounds are lost. Only the organic compounds are retained, so the substance becomes soft. Organic compounds are mostly soft in nature. So in dentine, since dentine is composed of 65% inorganic and 35% organic, so 65% which is organic compound is lost, and in enamel 96% is mineral compound. So when enamel is decalcified, all the enamel is lost because it contains 96% inorganic, so all the inorganic compound is lost. And here, in the process of decalcification, the organic constituents, this point, see here, the process of decalcification, the organic constituents can be retained and maintain the shape of the dentine. This is why decalcified teeth and bone can be sectioned. Decalcified bone or teeth, it can be sectioned because it becomes soft, right? So if it becomes soft, we can cut it into thin pieces and we can observe it under the microscope after staining. So decalcification is necessary. It provides clear histologic visualization. The enamel being over 90% mineral in composition is lost after decalcification. So all the enamel is lost after decalcification. Next, moving on to the structure. So here, the dentinal matrix of collagen fibers is arranged in a network. So the dentine, it contains matrix. The matrix of dentine contains collagen fibers, and these collagen fibers are arranged in a network. Okay, and as dentine calcifies, the hydroxyapatite crystals masks the individual collagen fibers. When the dentine calcifies, the hydroxyapatite crystals, these crystals mask the individual collagen fibers. Collagen fibers are only visible at the electron microscopic level. So these collagen fibers are not visible easily. They are visible only under the electron microscope level because these hydroxyapatite crystals masks the individual collagen fiber. Mask means it hides the collagen fibers. Then moving on, the bodies of odontoblasts are arranged in a layer on the pulpal surface of the dentine. I told you, right? The tooth, there is a pulpal surface of the dentine, the central portion and the peripheral portion. Okay, I'll show here. So if this is the tooth, this is the pulp chamber, and this is sorry. So this is the tooth, pulp chamber, this is the odontoblast cells here near the pulpal surface. So near the pulpal surface, these are odontoblast cells, and Here this is the pulpal surface of dentin. This is the central portion, pulpal portion, central portion, and periphery. This is the periphery, this is the central, and this is the pulpal area. Okay, so here the bodies of the odontoblasts are arranged in a layer on the pulpal surface of the dentin. Here the pulpal surface of dentin, and only their cytoplasmic processes are included in the tubules in the mineralized matrix. So only their cytoplasmic processes are included in tubules in the mineralized matrix. I'll show you next. I'll show you in the diagrams when it comes. So the it contains what? Dentinal tubules. Dentin contains dentinal tubules, and these are odontoblast cells. These small green color cells, these are odontoblast cells. These are present on the these are present on the pulpal side, and these odontoblasts contain odontoblast processes. So these odontoblast processes are present inside. So present inside the dentinal tubules, and they pass over the surface. And they pass over the surface of the dentin. Each cells give rise to one process. Each odontoblasts give rise to one process, which transfers the predentine and calcified dentin within one tubule and terminates the branching network at the junction with enamel or cementum. Tubules are found throughout the normal dentin, are therefore characteristic of it. So let's show you here the diagram. This is the tooth, and this is the pulpal chamber. Here are the odontoblast cells. Okay, and here these are the dentinal tubules. These are S-shaped actually. These are dentinal tubules are S-shaped like this, and these actually this is the dentinal tubule. Consider this as a dentinal tubule, and within this dentinal tubules these are odontoblastic processes. So these odontoblastic processes here, they produce this odontoblastic processes, and this one is actually the dentinal tubules. So these dentinal tubules S shape, they pass from the odontoblastic cells through the periphery to the enamel surface. So believe this is the enamel surface here. So these dentinal tubules, they come from the odontoblastic cells, and they pass here near the onto the enamel surface. They pass here on the enamel surface, and this is the odontoblastic process which is inside the dentinal tubules. If this is the if this is the tooth surface here, this is the pulp surface. Odontoblast cells are present here. Odontoblast cells first formed is predentine. This is the wait, I'll show you again. This is the pulp. So here there is predentine is here. Near the pulp surface is predentine. Odontoblast cells are present here. Odontoblast cells are present near the pulp surface. This green color is the predentine. Then comes the dentine, actual dentine. Okay, now mineral, it is calcified dentine. Okay, so we'll study about now dentinal tubules. Dentinal tubules, these are the structural. Okay, these are structural tubules of the dentin. Structural elements of the dentinal tubules. These are actually dentinal tubules are actually S-shaped. So S-shaped dentinal tubules like this. This contains two convexities, here the primary and the secondary convexities. We'll learn about it later. Dentinal tubules. The course of the dentinal tubules follow a gentle curve in the crown. See, it follows a gentle curve in the crown, less so in the root. Actually, these dentinal tubules, these are S-shaped, so they follow a gentle curve in the crown and less so in the root. Okay, where it resembles a gentle S, that is sigmoid curve in shape. Okay, the curvature are called primary curvatures. These curvatures, these convexities or curvatures called are primary curvatures, starting at right angles from the pulpal surface. Starting at right angles from the pulpal surface, the first convexity of this doubly curved course is described towards the apex of the tooth. Okay, so here I'll show you. If this is the tooth, okay, this is the pulp here. These are small odontoblast cells present here, and actually these are the dentinal tubules. So these dentinal tubules, they are present here. First, they are present actually. See, if we zoom out this here, we'll see this. Actually, this is here. If this is the pulp surface, this is the dentinal tubules. Actually, it is perpendicular. It is perpendicular to this pulp surface. These dentinal tubules, they are actually perpendicular here. Microscope visualization is very small, right? So if you enlarge this view, it is actually perpendicular. So after this, it is actually S shaped like this. This is the primary curvature here near the pulpal surface, root surface. The pulpal surface, and this is the secondary curvature. Okay. So these curvatures are called the primary curvatures, starting at right angles of the pulpal surface. The first convexity of this doubly curved course is directed towards the apex of the tooth. These tubules end perpendicular to the dentino-enamel and dentino-cementum junctions. So I showed you here in this diagram, but here in this diagram I showed you it is actually perpendicular at the dentino-enamel junctions. Okay, these tubules end perpendicular to the dentino-enamel and dentino-cementum junctions. Cementum is present in the root and the enamel is present in the crown. Okay, enamel is not present in the root, and cementum is present. Okay, so dentin is present in both, in root as well as in crown. Dentin is present, enamel is present only in the crown portion, and cementum is present in the root portion. So these tubules end perpendicular to dentino enamel and junction and dentino cementum junctions. Okay, next, branches of the dentinal tubules near the terminals are referred to as terminal branches. So the branches of the dentinal tubules near the terminals are referred to as terminal branches. These dentinal tubules, these are S-shaped tubules, and near the terminals are referred to as terminal branches. Okay, the terminal branching is more profuse in the root dentin than in the coronal dentin. So these terminal branchings, they are present more profusely in the root dentin than in the coronal dentin. Near the root tip and along the incisal edges and cusps, the tubules are almost straight. So I told you that these are present at right angles near the incisal edges, cusps and root tips. Over their entire length, these tubules exhibit minute, relatively regular secondary curvatures that are sinusoidal in shape. Okay, here I'll show you. these dentinal tubules, these are S-shaped, right? Okay, so if these are S-shaped, if we zoom out this portion here, you'll see that these also contains like this minute small secondary curvatures. These secondary curvatures are called as undulations, secondary undulations. Okay, na? These are sinusoidal in shape. These are secondary curvatures. Important point to be noted down. Entire length, over their entire length, these tubules exhibit minute relatively secondary curvatures. Okay, which are sinusoidal in shape. The tubules are longer than the dentine and are thick because they curve through dentine. So these tubules which are S-shaped, right, these are actually longer than dentine. These do not come out of the dentine into the enamel because these are actually curved, these S-shaped curved, right? So they are actually longer than dentine and are thick and curved through dentine. The dentine ranges in thickness from 3 to 10 millimeter or more. So what is the dentine thickness? Dentine thickness is 3 to 10 millimeter or more. First, after the pulp, dentine, and dentine after that enamel. So this dentine portion, it is its thickness range from 3 to 10 millimeter. Okay. Dentine shows variation in thickness between the sexes, between boys and girls of similar age group, and this increase during puberty. So dentine shows variation in thickness between the sexes also, between boy and girl. It was thicker in boys. So it was thicker in boys than girls. Dentine is actually thicker in boys than in girls. Okay. Of similar age group, and this increased during puberty. Dentine thickness varied not only from one tooth to tooth, but also it in different surfaces of same tooth. The buccal surface of the tooth shows maximum thickness followed by lingual, and there are no difference in thickness between mesial and distal. So the tooth, it contains surfaces, right? The buccal surface, the lingual surface. Buccal surface means towards the chin. Okay, outside it's called the buccal surface, and inside where we can touch with our tongue to the tooth, it's called a lingual surface. And this thickness of the dentine varies in the on the surfaces also. It is thick more at the buccal surface than at the lingual surface. Then near the mesial and distal surfaces is equal. Okay, so here thickness of dentine, buccal surface. Okay. Buccal surface contain more than lingual surface. Lingual surface has more than mesial, is equal to distal. Okay, so this is the thing, right? So moving on here, next we'll see I'll show you now this diagram. Look at this diagram. This diagram, these are the dentinal tubules. These are the dentinal tubules. See, these dentinal tubules are S-shaped, and here near this surfaces, see, the root surface, the pulpal surface, and this near the enamel surface, these are actually perpendicular like this. Okay, and these dentinal tubules, these are S-shaped. These also contain secondary curvatures which are known as secondary undulations. Okay, this is the dentino-enamel junction here. Here it is the dentino-enamel junction. Okay, I'll show you properly. Right, see here, this is the dentino-enamel junction. Okay, separating dentin and enamel. Okay, right. And these tubules are approximately 1 micrometer in diameter at the dentino-enamel junction, 1.5 to 2 micrometer midway through the dentin, and 1.5 to 3 micrometer at the pulp. Okay, so these dentinal tubules, they are actually thicker near the pulp, and in the midway they become a little bit thinner in the diameter, and near the dentino-enamel junction it becomes more thin, that is 1 micrometer in diameter. Okay, now the ratio this is the important line, all of you note down. The ratio between the outer and inner surface of dentin is about 5:1 accordingly. So in different books it is given different. Some books say it is 4:1. In this book it is 5:1. So the ratio between the outer and inner surface of dentin, is 5:1. The dentinal tubules, the ratio, these are outer surface and inner surface dentin is about 5:1. Accordingly, the tubules are farther apart in peripheral layers and more closely packed near the pulp. So here, see, if this is the pulp region, this is the peripheral region, so they are more packed near the pulp. See, these are dentinal tubules. They are far apart here, but they are closely packed here, like this. I am showing a magnified view. It's not actually like this. If they are far apart, see, near here in the peripheral area, here they are separated, but in this pulpal area they are packed more closely. See, packed more closely. Okay. In addition, they are large in diameter near the pulpal cavity. So I told you, pulpal cavity, they are more larger in diameter, that is 3 to 4 micrometer, and smaller at their outer ends near the dentino-enamel junction. These dentinal tubules, they are smaller in diameter, that is 1 micrometer. The ratio between the number of tubules per unit area on the pulpal and outer surface of the dentin is about 4:1. See, if this is the periphery, this is the pulpal surface. So per unit area 4:1. See, like this. This is a magnified view actually. See, here there are four tubules in this area, but in this area there is only one tubule. So per unit area on the pulpal outside of the dentin, the ratio of dentinal tubules is 4:1. So they are present in about 4:1 ratio. Okay. Then near the pulpal surface of dentin, the number per square millimeter varies between 50,000 and 90,000. These dentinal tubules near the pulpal surface of dentin, the number per square millimeter varies between 50,000 and 90,000. So this is the number of dentinal tubules. There are more tubules per unit area in the crown than in the root. So in the crown there are more tubules per unit area than in the root. Okay. The dentinal tubules have lateral branches. These dentinal tubules also have lateral branches. These S-shaped, see, these S-shaped dentinal tubules, right? They also have some lateral branches, which anastomose with the adjacent dentinal tubules. These also have lateral branches, so these anastomose with each other. Okay. The dentinal tubules have lateral branches. These lateral branches throughout dentin, which are termed as canaliculi or microtubules. See, here I've showed you This is the lateral branches here. Okay, LB, lateral branches. So these lateral branches are called as canal equili or microtubules. These come out from the dentinal tubules. Okay, these canal equili are 1 micrometer or less in diameter and originate more or less at right angles to the main tubule, every 1 to 2 micrometer along its length. Okay, see, I'll show you here this diagram. This is the dentinal tubule. These are the lateral branches. Okay, these lateral branches are called canal equili or microtubules. Okay, canal equili or microtubules. These lateral branches are smaller in diameter, that is 1 micrometer, and they are present, and the distance between these two microtubules or canal equili is 1 to 2. So this distance here, actually wait, show you. So if this is the microtubule, this is the lateral branches. Okay, between these lateral branches, this space is actually 1 micrometer or 2 micrometers. Okay, at the length of each 1 micrometer or 2 micrometers, one lateral branch is present, right? These are canal equili or microtubules. They originate right angles to every main tubule and every 1 to 2 micrometer along this length. Some of them enter adjacent or distant tubules while other end in the intertubular dentine. A few odontoblastic processes extend throughout the dentinal junction into the enamel for several millimeters. These are termed enamel spindles. So this line is very important here. This line, these canal equili or microtubules enter adjacent or distal tubules with one another in the intertubular dentine. A few odontoblastic processes extend through the dentinal enamel junction into the enamel for several millimeters. These are termed as enamel spindles. No? I'll show you here this diagram. See, this is the dentinal tubule. These are the lateral branches. Okay, and this is actually intertubular dentine. See, these are dentinal tubules. This is called as intertubular dentine. So these lateral branches enter into the intertubular dentine as anastomose with each other, and the point is here, I said you before, right? This is the dentinal tubule, this is the odontoblastic process. Okay, so what is said here, see carefully. Some of them enter or distant tubules while other enter in the intertubular dentine. A few odontoblastic processes extend through the dentine enamel junction into the enamel several meters. These are termed enamel spindles. Okay, so I've showed you here. This is the dentinal tubule. This is the odontoblastic process. Inside is this odontoblastic process. What it does, it seems, this is the enamel, right? This is the dentinal junction. So this is the enamel, this is the dentine. Okay, this is the dentine and this is the dentine enamel junction, this curved, and these odontoblastic processes inside the dentinal tubules actually extend into the enamel for few millimeters. Okay, these believe these are odontoblastic processes. Okay, these are odontoblastic processes which are present inside the dentinal tubules. These odontoblastic processes extend into the enamel. Okay, this is the enamel. For few millimeters they extend. These odontoblastic processes, these are called as enamel spindles. Okay, right, clear up to here? Coming to these diagrams. Okay, right, see, these diagrams are important. Sorry, this picture is important. In this picture, see these lines you see here, these are actually dentinal tubules. Okay, these are S shaped like this. They are dentinal tubules, and these are actually this small here. These are actually lateral branches of dentinal tubules. Lateral branches of dentinal tubules, they are present here in the intertubular dentine. These are actually around this dentine there is a peritubular dentine. I'll tell you in the later classes. This is actually around the dentinal tubule. This peritubular dentine is present. Peritubular dentine is present here between the two dentinal tubules. This is intertubular dentine. So these, what happens, these lateral branches of these lateral branches, which are called as canaliculi or microtubules, they extend into the intertubular dentine. Okay, this is the intertubular dentine, right? This is the dentin enamel junction. Enamel. Okay, this is the enamel here. This is the enamel. This is the dentin enamel junction. This is the dentinal tubules, which is the S shaped. Okay, terminal branch of dentinal. See here, you can see here small here. These extend into the enamel, and these are actually called as enamel spindles. What extends into the dentine? What extends into the dentine? Odontoblastic processes present inside the dentinal tubules extend into the dentine. These are called as enamel spindles. They extend into the enamel. They extend into the enamel for a few millimeters. Okay, these are called as enamel spindles, right? So dentinal tubules at a glance. Look at here. Just focus. Dentinal tubules at a glance. Contents. Dentinal tubules, I told you before, S-shaped dentinal tubules. Okay, inside these S-shaped dentinal tubules, there are odontoblastic processes present. Okay, contents of the dental tubules. Inside the dentinal tubule there are odontoblastic. This is the dentinal tubule cross section, and this is the odontoblastic process inside it. Okay, which are emerging from the odontoblastic cells present in the pulpal surface, right? These odontoblastic processes, these are cytoplasmic extensions of odontoblast bathed in dentinal fluid, right? Course enclosed by a highly mineralized wall. Peritubular dentine, doubly convex. First convexity towards apical. Primary curvature gradually becomes straight toward apical or cuspal regions. Okay, smaller curvatures or undulation along its course, these are called as secondary curvatures. I have told you dentinal tubules, it is S shaped. Okay, it contains curvatures, right? Primary curvature, secondary curvature. Okay, and it also called secondary curvatures. These are called as undulations. These secondary curvatures present along the course of the dentinal tubules. These are called as secondary curvature. Okay, right? Then branches, lateral branches all along its course. See, if this is the dentinal tubule S shaped, these are the lateral branches present at each interval of 1 or 2 micrometers, present at each length of 1 or 2 micrometers. They are lateral branch. Okay, and terminal branches are also present. They are dentinal enamel junction. See, this is the dentinal enamel junction. I believe this is the dentinal enamel junction. These terminal branches are also present here from the dental tubule. These are called terminal branches. They are the dentinal enamel junction. Okay, arrangement. Tubules wider and close near pulp. Tubules wider and closer near pulp. Tubules farther apart and narrower near dentin enamel and cemento enamel junction. So I've told the ratio, right? 4:1 ratio. What do you mean by 4:1 ratio? If there are 4 dentinal tubules present at the the pulp region, there is only 1 dentinal tubules present near the enamel or cementum junction. Okay, right? I'll show you here again if you're confused. See, believe this is the enamel surface here. This is the dentin enamel junction, actually dentin enamel junction. This is the pulpal surface. Okay, these are actually, see, these are dentinal tubules I'll do it but red. Your dentinal tubules. See, for the, see, look at here. For the same surface area, okay, near the dentinal junction only one dentinal tubule is present, and whereas here 4 dentinal tubules are present. Okay, right, here only one present, so it is also called as 4:1 ratio, right? Understood, Rav? Okay. Intertubular dentine between dentinal tubules. This intertubular dentine, inter means between two. Intertubular dentine is present between the two dentinal tubules. It is less mineralized, wider near dentinal junction or cemento-enamel junction, but due to tubules being further apart. Okay. Next, here we will end the class. Okay. If you have any doubts, please feel free to write in the comment section. I'll answer it. Thank you.